let's start. Welcome everyone, and those who will be joining us on different platform, whether it is Facebook Live, if I'm not mistaken, Twitch, or the ISOC Live. So welcome everyone. Good to have you here. So we have, if you are part of the Asia Pacific region, and not necessarily just part of Asia Pacific region, you should be aware of who we have on the panel. So we have we call it we have been calling it for quite some time, the partner in crime, Mr. Tashi. Tashi is APNIC training manager. So welcome on board, Tashi.
Thanks, Aftab. Happy to be here.
So how's everything going in the Sunshine Coast?
Um, all good, sir. A bit tired from yesterday's delivery, so yeah, business as usual.
Business as usual. So
Yes,
the
sir.
topic we have selected today is more like understanding how. I mean, we all had issues last year, right? So it was not just we were facing the problem; it was a global issue.
Mm,
We still haven't solved the problem yet, but still things are getting better. Um, so just wanted to understand from the community engagement and the capacity building perspective, how everybody coped up 2020 and how we are shaping up for the 2021. I still remember last time we saw each other was in Melbourne, Capricorn,
yes,
and that was the last workshop we did. I was so you were conducting the RPKI deployathon. I was there.
yes, sir.
That was the last face-to-face meeting, and then everything just we went back home, and then things just uh, went sideways. So, if you look back in 2020 and say how how many hours you had to put in, number one, to achieve the same goals what you were used to get through face-to-face meetings or workshops.
Mhm. All right. Yeah, not too sure about the numbers, but yeah, we went back home after Apricot and stayed home. um, but yeah, good lessons for us in 2020. From a delivery point of view, I think it was quite a learning for me and the team um, together as a team. But it's good that APNIC also had the academy going. So my colleague Peter and his team, the fact that we had an academy meant we could push more courses online, and we could leverage that for prerequisites, not for doesn't substitute the delivery, but what it meant was when we do a short delivery or short session, we could rely on that as a prereq. So it meant we didn't have to do the same extended online delivery. Um, but yeah, challenging definitely. Speaking to a screen is never funny, nor is it enjoyable for the trainers. We couldn't, if it's a face to face, you have done it with us after in the past. We can draw from people in the room their energy. It's contagious. As people are more pumped up, you also tend to get a bit more energized and pumped up. But we lose that in online setting. You can barely see people once you have your slides open. You don't even see the chats that are coming in. So from a delivery point of view, it's not really ideal. And we could see that initially the interest was huge from participants for the first few months. But then gradually we could see the numbers decreasing, interest dying down, and maybe people are tired equally. And compared to a face to face, in the face to face, people can block their time. They're away from the office. Their bosses know that, colleagues know that. But in an online setting, maybe most of them are sitting at home or at their desk, and bosses and the family could drag them away from their desk easily. So, yeah, a bit of everything, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. We have so many funny stories about that as well. I mean, and some of them have become viral videos from quite like the 2 days ago, the lawyer video of which he became a cat. So sometimes you have to convince people that no, I'm not a cat. So yeah, exactly the same way you have to convince people that no, I'm not sleeping. So it was tough. So okay, fine. So that was the teaser, I would say. So moving forward, so Jeff, like Jeff Houston, like every year he published a overview of last year in terms of the routing table and the BGP, right? And we saw that quite clearly that the growth of the routing table is going ahead exactly like it was before. Pandemic, no pandemic, nothing changed. In fact, if you look at the IPv6 routing number of prefixes, there was like 30% increase in the routes coming into the routing table. So the growth is there, right? So it means more networks are adding up. If we are not engaging with that many networks with that much pace, what are the consequences we are dealing with? It means the people will be just doing things they learn from, they learn themselves, or just going through blogs or things like that, because the interaction is gone. You don't meet people on the side alleys in during the major events, over the coffee during lunch or dinners or social gatherings. So you don't share those experiences, or don't put that filter list there, or prefix filter or something, or route of object like this. That is gone. So what is the uh, I mean, how do we deal with that?
Yeah, that's an interesting one right after. For okay, I'll try to answer that in different parts. If it's an APNIC member, a new network that has showed up in this region and they have become a new APNIC member, then along with your new membership, there's also onboarding that happens through our services team, and they, of course, introduce you and let you know that hey, there are trainings that APNIC offers. So, and if they're really new and they need help, we have seen some people contact us directly, saying that, hey, I heard this from your services colleagues. Would you be able to help us? So, but those are very few after. Those are countable, one or two people contacting us. And for the rest, I really don't know, right? After no straightforward answer, but I think given the situation, everyone has quickly learned to adapt. There are lots of folks out there sharing lots of information, be it blog posts, be it frequent webinars, and not just us. APNIC is just one, ISOC is just another one, but there are others. The vendors are offering free webinars, content networks offering free webinars. So I hope that those forums, the information that people can find through those mailing lists or those forums are adequate enough for folks to be aware of best practices. Um, but yeah, I don't think I have anything solid for that, because I really hope that's how most of them are learning, or most of them are aware of best practices. But those that are in touch with us or directly in contact with us, we try to evangelize best practices for them. But for others, I assume it's all the free webinars that are out there, free content that are out there, pre-recorded videos, available as online courses, be it on APNIC's Academy or NSRC's BGP for all videos. It's good to see those free contents out there through which, unlike the days after when we started off, couldn't just Google out things. So these days, at least people have that opportunity to
Yeah, we used to Yahoo.
right. Well,
I think that was the Inktomi search engine they were using at that time. I don't know. I don't
right.
remember anymore. So
Yeah.
yeah, so one thing I just want to go back is uh, the I mean, APNIC has a big, huge membership, right? It's a member-driven organization, of course, and it's it's under the it's APNIC's mission to make sure that you provide those we provide that support. It's not like you provide the training; it's a support to help these members, right? So I really like that thing that when you said whenever the new members sign up, we try to reach out to them. Hey, here is just like when a new employee joins in, they get a box of things, right, which has maybe a chocolate, but there are 20 other things which they should read before they start their job. So that is something really very interesting. If it is it something they have APNIC has implemented for every new member, or maybe we can start. I'm not sure if I don't think so. There's a policy requirement for that, but but APNIC can maybe quarterly or something say, by the way, here are the videos we have published this quarter or in last 6 months. Um, so what was the uptake? I would say if you reached out to the new members, were they interested, or they say no, we know what we are doing?
Yeah, so I think pre-COVID, new member onboarding is just, hey, you get this many trainings free, 2 slots free or something. But with online onboarding, I think our services colleagues go a few extra miles and say, hey, since you're new, you not only get your free trainings, because online it's pretty much free, whatever we deliver, no training fees there. Since it's already free, I think what they do is they just remind them that if you're stuck somewhere, here is our training team's contact details. Here are some of the courses that have been delivered so far. Here is the academy link. So I think that definitely is a good initiative from our services colleagues. But from an uptake after, like I was saying, although I think they do that, folks that have reached out to us are just few, very handful, 2 or 3 of them reached out to us saying that, hey, what are the best practices if I am to build a new network? Or from a design perspective, what is a good modular design or not? So only handful has contacted us, but in special economies, like example Timor-Leste, we have proactively initiated those sessions for them, for startups, because we know that's a very young country, a young economy. Engineers are also very young. The ecosystem is young. So for those kind of special economies, we hosted a dedicated session for startups. So me and my colleague Dave developed some new content around, if you're a new engineer who wants to start up a new ISP, what does it take? Not getting the address is the easiest part, I guess. but your last mile infra, your backbone design, how do you talk to upstreams? How do you select upstreams? If you don't have a local interconnect point, how do you still manage to directly connect with others, even though you don't have an internet exchange point? So all those good things we have been trying to do for those targeted economies. But at a wider scale, we haven't done it. But we have tried to identify those economies that might need a bit more handholding or a bit more help. And for those, yes, we have done some targeted sessions for them. But yeah, 56 economies in this region becomes really difficult. Uh, and what we are seeing after, maybe I'm going a bit off the track here. What we are seeing is, like I was saying when we started off with your teaser question in the beginning, although we host online sessions, and if you look at our schedule last year, every week we were trying to host something. Registration is huge, 300 people register. But on the day of the session, we end up with 2 or 3 people. And the effort is the same for us at the back end, whether it's and our efforts are based on, all right, 200 people, maybe 100 might show up. So the lab setups and all are ready for that much. And then only 4 people show up on the day of the delivery. So very confusing for us to even analyze and make sense of things. The registration shows there is interest, but then when people don't show up on the actual session, we're very confused. And of course, I and the team, we would like to give the benefit of doubt to the community. Maybe when they registered, they were available. They thought they would be available, but maybe on the day of the session, they just couldn't make it because of other priorities. So
Yeah, so that is one of the question from our attendees from Fahad saying, what are the
oh
attendance ratio on site versus online, as most of the guys don't travel. So it's a good opportunity to take online session for those. So, but what you are
yeah,
saying
yeah,
is slightly different, right?
exactly. So while it might seem that on one side, yes, from a logistics point of view, trainers don't have to travel across the region. We can deliver it remotely. People can And we try to schedule the same topic in 3 different time zones after. We look at Oceania, Southeast Asia, East Asia as one, and then South Asia time zone as one. Despite rotating topics in those 3 different time zones, like I said, in the beginning, there was good interest. I would have to say, good number always every week. But after a few months, we could see it dying down. So Fahad, really not sure what to make of it, because from our side, yes, I think we can keep hosting sessions. Even this year, we're going a bit heavy. In January, we hosted about 8. In February, went a bit more, 12. But if you want us to tell you the numbers don't really look promising. In some sessions, of course, the numbers look great. Maybe timing works great for everyone at that moment. But yeah, Aftab and Fahad, I really don't know what to make of this, honestly.
So what we saw from the manners and the internet society point of view is, I mean, we don't do so much aggressive training like APNIC. So I mean, we don't
Mhm.
probably do it like twice a month, right?
Yeah,
So you can't compare with the amount of effort you put in. So what we saw is there was a huge uptake. I mean, it was like mountains and valleys. Like so, when we started in the March, April, and May, it was all capacity. Every time you put in something, it was like full.
oh,
And there was a like, sudden decline around July, August,
mm,
right? And maybe you can say even September. Then right in the fourth quarter, things just went up like crazy again, right? All sessions packed up. And so maybe that is again the pandemic that people were dealing with. I mean, we are lucky we didn't never faced that issue in Australia, but of course, there were multiple waves in different parts of the world, specifically in South Asia and then Southeast Asia. So it could be because of that they said, okay, fine, 2 weeks down the road, I will be available. But
yeah,
then something happened, and like
yeah.
they couldn't, and maybe there was a lockdown, there was something else. So it might have. I mean, we don't have the numbers. We of course we can't say that, oh, because it happened because of the pandemic. Maybe it happened because of the pandemic. Do you think that that played a role as well?
I would think so. That like exactly like you said. When they register, sure. Um, they think they can make it. They look at their calendar. Oh yeah, I think I should be able to attend that session. But when you actually on that day of the session, like you said, maybe something changed, either at their personal front or in that local economy or in the country, something changed, and hence. But one part of me also thinks after that, while me working for APNIC, I think, oh, APNIC does this, you are at ISOC, you do that. What we forget is all of us are targeting pretty much the same audience. And I think saturation also, I'm thinking, because all of us targeting the same audience. And it's not just us. I can see vendors offering free trainings. Wow, it's a nice change. And given the choice, I think you and me, example, if you're running a vendor's platform, I would really want to sit in a vendor's session than a generic ISOC or a APNIC session. We are not specialists in those platforms, whereas a vendor, one could be specific to that product. They are great at what they do. So I sometimes feel that maybe we all need to sync up, those of us who offer these things out to the community, because it's the same community we target, the same audience we target, and we have our own plans to reach out to them, but it's the same audience. And after a while, I think people maybe have had just too many online events that they attended. And just about 2 weeks ago, within the team, we were trying to understand what's happening with the trend. And someone mentioned there saying that maybe last year when we started off because of COVID, maybe people thought, hey, this is something that'll go away. So the enthusiasm was there for them to be active. After 1 year, people realize, hey, this thing doesn't seem to change. Learning is not even a priority when you're going through this kind of. So very difficult to give a direct answer on these things. But all we can do from our side after this, despite the trend or despite the drop in numbers, what we have told ourselves is we'll continue. We'll continue. So this time we're last year we tried doing longer tutorials. This year we are doing shorter tutorials, focusing on one topic, do one session theory, maybe 2 or 3 sessions labs, and open up for open discussion so that people don't, because last year we were trying to take modules out of our face-to-face content and try to push it as a tutorial. But this year, learning from our last year's delivery, we are going with shorter tutorials. And from the numbers so far in Feb, that seems to work quite well. Aftab, I must tell you, good attendance, except for one session, which kind of gave me an idea, us an idea. Since you are tech too, let me, after we were running OSPF and ISIS tutorials separately, OSPF full packed. ISIS only 4 people showed up. So I was telling the guys, hey, calm down. Maybe that shows that not many networks in this region are using that as an IGP. But yeah, we are trying from our side. I would like to say that the effort is there, the same effort. Instead, we are trying to now break things down into component, smaller pieces so that it's easy for people, not much commitment online, maybe just 2 sessions, 2 90-minute sessions instead of 4 90 minutes or 6 90 minutes.
So, okay, and just moving to the next question, asked by Raj, asking how easy has it been to adapt technical training content to
Mm-mm.
an online audience beyond the course that were already online, knowing that the trainees may be cultural diversity and the physical contact is not possible to help them along, which is easier in person. Are there any learning to help us tweak something in the future?
Yeah, Raj, spot on with that comment, right? That's our main pain point, right? Like I was saying earlier, when you speak to a screen, it's not at all great. But in a face-to-face, like you said, we see how people's reaction are, whether I need to go down to basics or elaborate a bit more. We can read cues from the participants, but with online, it's quite challenging. And hence, Raj, why learning from that, we are trying to focus on a specific topic, keep the sessions short, because like you said, when we were trying to do it in a face-to-face style, what we ended up with was a class of very diverse group where some know so much, some are relatively new. And for us, our common denominator is always the person with the least, so that we can bring up the class. It doesn't matter what session we have planned, but if we realize that there are a few folks in the room that needs a bit more fundamental concept, so we do that. But that means we bore the other half of the class who came there for a specific topic or a specific doubt that they wanted to ask or a deployment specific question that they might have. So hence why this time with the shorter tutorials, we are planning to get the fundamentals done in the first few months so that folks who are relatively new can actually attend those. Folks who need something else can attend the later sections. And once the fundamentals are out of the way, we will cover some intermediate level of topics. Once that is out of the way, then we will then go into um, actual deployment, be it V6, be it RPKI. We can then focus on something which is very deployment specific. Um, but we will keep you informed, Raj and Aftab, on how that goes because we are learning from last year and we are trying to. Currently in Feb, we are just running the fundamentals at the moment in Feb, all our open tutorials, BGP fundamentals, VSIT fundamentals, crypto fundamentals. So we are running through them, DNS fundamentals. And the next one, we will then slowly um, 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 bring the level a bit up. But yeah, again, Raj, huge problem. When you have to deliver it to an online audience. But coming back to your thing about how do we deliver technical content, for us, the way, and I really appreciate that what the team has done is we have tried to keep our lab setups and everything very similar to how we do it in face-to-face. No weird web interface, nothing. You come in through a terminal, we have a jump host. You come to the jump host, you get access to your containers, your routers, same like in a face-to-face. So once you're done with the theory session, the lab part took us a while to figure that out. What works, what doesn't work for participants. But there were feedbacks from few participants who said, can you not give us a native terminal instead of giving us a web interface where you click, and you don't even know what is getting launched every time you click something. So we have tried to keep that similar to a face-to-face setup. We have our lab infrastructure here. We pretty much run everything here. And for that reason, we now have two transits, even for the lab infrastructure, so that folks have that option of a lower latency path if they would like to the lab infrastructure. But yeah, the lab setup is similar to a face-to-face workshop that we do, and we have had good positive feedback from folks who have done those labs. Yeah.
Okay, that's perfect. I mean, yeah, sometimes we can't beat the speed of light, but
Oh yeah, exactly.
so you have to live with the latency at times. So, but it's not that bad. Things have improved. I mean, the furthest is Afghanistan geographically.
Mm.
So from Afghanistan to here, I think it should be not more than 300 millisecond or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thereabout. Yeah,
yeah.
and before I forget, I think since last year, our IS colleagues, Tohit and team, we now have a POP at Singapore, so that means people can peer with
Uh,
AS4608 directly. So that has definitely reduced the latency a lot. No need to go to West Coast, say hi, and come back all the way to the moon and back. Previously, our latencies from South Asia was really bad. But after that POP setup in Singapore, most of South Asian networks peer with us directly there. So that has helped a lot, I must say.
Okay, that's a good one. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the issue because even though you have to beat the speed of light, plus you have to beat the business decisions by some of the transit provider that they take your bits all the other on the other side of the planet and then bring it back. So you can't beat that because that's a business decision they have made. So yeah, that's good to hear that now you have a pop in Singapore, which definitely reduce the latency. Now, moving towards a little bit a different point is, I mean, this region, we in the last couple of years, yourself and ISOC and NSRC, we all encouraged a lot of national NOCs, right? And the whole purpose of the NOC was to bring people in and make a community and have a discussion and things like that. Of course, no, NOGS events are not happening, so everything become virtual. So how do you bring that community feeling again for a national event? So you recently did a TW NOG, and I was so surprised to see there was a physical presence and you were virtually there. So that's amazing. I mean, but that's the luxury not every country can have because they are virtually um, COVID free. But yes, other countries are still facing this problem. So the community engagement, capacity building is still there. The community
Yes.
engagement, how what's the missing piece in that one? How to bring people together?
Yeah. Yeah. TWNOC, like you said, was a special case because locally, their government or local advisory allowed them to gather in a room. So TWNOC, thanks to Jack and William, our two TWNOC chairs, we suggested a hybrid approach where participants could be in the same room. And it was a nice feeling finally to see folks in the room. And we could actually see it like a face-to-face, whether people are doing labs or not. And we could ask them to rearrange the classroom to look like a face-to-face setup. Hey, this topology, this group, that topology, that. So it was really nice for me as a trainer too. Finally felt like I wasn't just talking to an empty screen where the people are dozing off on the other end. I have no clue. But that was a great one. But like you said, not possible with other NOGs. But I guess from an outreach point of view, from a human networking point of view, of course, with online, the fact that we don't have to physically travel meant that we can, of course, keep in touch with a lot of our friends. Because when we were traveling, I can only be in one country at any given time. And the region is quite big, the region that we serve. Whereas with online, one advantage has been that we can keep in touch frequently with pretty much most of our networks. The only thing that we learned last year was initially everyone, since it's first time for every one of us, not everyone was confident enough about how our online session would work. People didn't even know how to go about it. That's why we didn't see NOGs happening after Apricot pretty much last year. The two lucky ones were NZ NOG and Myanmar NOG that happened before Apricot. We got it up and running, but the other NOGs didn't happen. But one thing that happened was the NFH that the comms team initiated from APNIC. And during the NFH, as you're aware, after we reached out to all the NOGs, asked them if they would like to be involved, and 21 out of the 22 NOGs in the region said yes. I won't name the one NOG that didn't participate, but for special reason, I don't know. But 21 out of the 22 NOGs said yes, we would like to be involved. So that was a nice learning phase for them, because when we formed the program committee PCs for those NFH events, we made sure that the PCs for each sub-region was only the NOGs for those sub-regions involved in those PCs. So that way you made sure that the papers that got accepted were relevant to the region, not some generic paper that gets accepted. And that kind of helped those PC members who represent their own NOGs to get a bit of a confidence. And they kind of figured out, what are the issues with running online sessions? Because the first NFH was a big lesson, even for APNIC. We had Zoom bombers just showing up. And also that's when we realized that longer conference talks don't work really well. So that's how for the second NFH, we cut it down to about 20 minutes each talk. So once the NFHs were done, there were a few NOGs who said, hey, we saw what NFH has done, so we would like to do it ourselves. So PH NOG went ahead that way. Then people like myself, we reached out to our friends, BT NOG, MN NOG, Mongolia NOG, and others, and say, hey, we think it's doable. Let's give it a try. May work, may not work. But one thing that we found out after, which is quite unique, is when we were trying to help few newer NOGs like PNG NOG and even Bhutan NOG, BT NOG for that reason, for that matter. In terms of sponsorship, it was unique that the sponsorship request was, hey, can you please sponsor data packages for potential folks to connect in and attend the conference. So we made that as a part of fellowship. The first 20 registrants or people who ask questions, we will pay for your data package. So that's how some of the NOGs, BT NOG did that. I saw PNG NOG in Papua New Guinea, the newest NOG. They also went ahead with that. They asked for a sponsorship for data packages. So for folks who registered, the NOG actually gave them a data package, a mobile data package, which may be quite weird for folks in Australia and New Zealand. But for those of us who come from that part of the world, it's a genuine problem. I don't want to use up all my data, mobile data for a conference, which may add or may not add value to me. I would rather use that for Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
But so all this subtle new changes to how sponsorship works, or where, because you don't spend money on other things in an online session, but it was quite interesting. I guess everyone was learning, just like us, even the NOGs were learning. And based on what we saw with few of those NOGs, and this year I'm looking forward to pretty much all the 21 NOGs. I don't know about that 22nd NOG, whether they'll do anything. But the 21 NOGs in our region, I'm very hopeful that it'll go ahead, be it virtually. Where it's possible physically, I'm sure, like JNOG, it might happen. But where it's not possible physically, at least the virtual part, I guess.
So, don't you think it gives uh, an opportunity to all these national NOGs to raise more local issues which they have seen in because of the COVID or because of the restrictions, staying at home, and bring it to the community more openly and more promptly, right? So rather than all of us going there and speaking on those session, I think it gives them an opportunity to change the direction a little bit and say, okay, let's talk about local issues more rather than the global issues. Of course, the global issues impact everybody and the regional issues, but let's bring more local talks into the mix, which can help bring more people um, to the events.
That's a good point, right? And I think that's what we saw. Like if you look at BTNOG, for a change, 80% of the content was very local specific. You look at Mongolia now, for a change, majority of the speakers spoke in their local language because the crowd was local. And except for few invited speakers, like you said, at least it gave people the opportunity to highlight the challenges that they, because I think with COVID, what we saw was in the NOC panel discussions, what we saw was infrastructure stress bad quality of connectivity. And people could actually raise those during the panel discussions from the crowd or from the audience, people going like, hey, when can we have an affordable and a usable internet? Some people say, here is a cheap internet, but it may not be usable. But you're right. People actually found out that the kind of service or quality that they were used to was not good enough, especially with this COVID when everyone is online. And it actually gave them an opportunity to discuss those things through their virtual NOG. I can again relate to Bhutan NOG because I was heavily involved with that. And most of the discussion was around that. How can we have affordable yet usable internet in poorer countries like Bhutan? Similarly, even the Iron NOG, Indian NOG that happened, I could see that most of the content were localized. Most of the speakers who spoke, they brought more locally relevant content. So yes, I think on one side, I kind of prefer the online one where people don't have to spend so much money to show up at a conference. Example for apricot conferences or APNIC conferences, normally people would have to fly into those places. But when it's virtual, at least it gives people the opportunity to listen to those speakers without having to fly in. Um, so yeah, definitely something like you said, more local context.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay, just going into the same direction is I agree that it is important to have these events. So national events, right? So because that you are um, if you are living in that country, all of a sudden you just say, okay, it's happening like in my time zone. They're talking about my things which are I'm concerned with. So let me be part of that and let me join that one. So maybe I mean, like the way you did, APNIC did NFH, uh, maybe a quite informal NFH in 2021, not that very formal. Okay, there is a program committee, there is a open call for it. No, we are doing something in Southeast Asia, and we'll be talking about XYZ from that many people in the region. So you're more than welcome. It's just a discussion. So that gave people, I mean, myself made sure that I joined all of the session. I'm not be able to join. Most likely, I'm not going to be joining the JNOG or MMNOG or any other NOG. But if it's happening a sub-regional event, most likely I'm going to be there. So, what do you
So
think? It's a softer version of the NFH.
yeah, I think it's a good idea, right? Because again, like you said, I think we somehow need to definitely fill in that gap with bringing people together. Because I think with this pandemic, for me, the biggest impact has been that human networking component. Folks like you and me, and most of our industry folks learned through human networking. Um, and that opportunity is a missed opportunity. People don't get that chance to human network. Yes, or we can have tutorials and trainings, but that's just me and them. They don't get to hear other diverse opinions or other opinions on the same tech. So I think definitely we, whether it's APNIC or ISOC or anyone, but I think a sub-regional event, but a bit more casual, a bit more informal, definitely would make sense to bridge the gap. But I guess at this time of the year, maybe people are too busy with Apricot and looking forward to how Apricot might pan out. And based on the learnings or the lessons learned from how Apricot goes, which is what the biggest tech conference in our parts of the world, if that goes well, and from the lessons learned, I think definitely a sub-regional event is definitely worth a try. And that's something I could, if the community, um, if the majority of the community says it's worth it, I think that's something that we can discuss internally and try to host
Maybe
something a
we
bit more casual.
maybe
Yeah.
maybe we can do a joint survey with the community, asking, "Hey guys,
Yes,
what do you
sir.
think?" I mean,
Yeah.
more um, uh, informal rather than
Yeah.
very formal, informal. bringing more people on the panel, like 6, 7 people, just talking about stuff happened in that sub-region,
I agree.
right?
I agree.
So that bring, I mean, sometimes it's if I cannot relate to what is happening in the region, it is not very important to me then, right? So things which are relatable. I mean, every sub-region has their own issues, right? So I mean, what's happening in South Asia is pretty much blanketly applied to the whole South Asia. Right?
To the whole of South.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And I guess just to add to you that this events I think should also encourage a few more new faces. What I have seen, no offense to anyone in our community, it's usually the same faces that show up at our face-to-face conferences, right? Every year, some a bit fatter, some are a bit thinner, a bit grayer, a bit thick. But usually it's the same folks, same ideas, same debate, same arguments that shows up. But I think with this virtual events, we have this opportunity to let other tech people also shine, get that platform where they can share some of the good things or innovative things that they might be doing, which they wouldn't normally get if it's a face-to-face event, because they may not have the permission or the money to fly to those places, and it's a missed opportunity. But I guess us as a community together, I think we should encourage. There are really great tech minds out there who are silent, hidden, low profile, who do great tech work, but who really may not be a public facing person or may not enjoy the limelight. So I feel this is an opportunity. Should we do this kind of sub-regional events for a change? Let's give some new faces a chance. New face doesn't mean just give anyone a chance, but someone who does some good tech work out there to share their experiences. So that's what I was thinking, that if we do this, I think we have a great opportunity to allow some more people to shine and to
Yeah,
share.
absolutely. I mean, so it's so the idea I'm just sharing is maybe it's just other people on who are listening can come up with more ideas and tell us that what we should be doing. So I'm raising my hand to do a joint survey, asking people, hey, what do you think about this? And say if that's gonna work, then we are happy to experiment. I mean, it's not gonna
Mhm.
cost other than the time which we
Exactly.
all are spending a lot. I mean, it's your evening, it's my evening. so,
Yes, sir.
so day is flat now. I mean, it doesn't matter whether
Yeah.
the sun is up or not. We have to respect the time zone for others as well. So it's yes, we can do that, but it's
Cool.
because the only thing which you highlighted quite rightly, which the pain point for me is not seeing the new faces coming up. I mean, I mean, we all came as newbie into this community, and I'm struggling to see the new faces
Hmm.
coming forward. We can curse how much we want to the pandemic, but we have to find the opportunity to help those newcomers
Yes.
find a way to get into this one. So I mean, this is the reality. It's not going to change, right? And we have to live with it for at least maybe this year, or I don't know for how long. So within this paradigm, we have to give them the opportunity. So it's, I mean, there's no right answer right now, but the people are
Hmm.
listening. So I would say, if
Yeah.
you do have a right answer, if you do have a right suggestion, please reach out to us. So what do you think can be done to encourage more newcomers? What do you think?
Was that for me or for the audience
I mean,
also?
it's just for the whole audience. It's if
Yeah.
anybody
Okay.
wants to
Yeah.
jump
Sure.
in. I mean, I don't have the right answer, to be fair.
Exactly.
But if anybody has the right answer, you are most welcome to speak up, write down, or
Yeah.
ask anything. But it has to be done. Otherwise, we it's not, as a community we worked really hard in the region to bring a lot of faces
Mhm.
in front of the community, right? It was easier when we were in the same room. It is very difficult when you're looking at yourself on the screen, right? And most of the
Yes.
people have just turned off their videos, so it's really difficult. So Yeah, I mean, Fahad, if you are available for the opportunity, I mean, it's great to see. I mean, you are on the session. It's already almost an hour. You're already on the session and being part of it. So yes, that's the encouragement. But uh, we have to create a maybe a pyramid scheme, not the phony one, but the right one.
Yeah,
That you bring three people, only then you are allowed to present. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, after, I think, like you say, jokes aside, yeah, some innovative ideas to encourage new faces. By new faces, we don't mean just a newbie, right? New faces means there are so many senior engineers hidden out there in our region, and this is one of the biggest region in terms of population. The APAC region pretty much has one third the world's population, or even more than that. So I'm sure there are talent out there um, that not only benefits them, also benefits us as a wider community. We could tap onto them, we could learn from them interesting stuff that they do. So when we deliver tutorials and online trainings after me and my fellow trainers, we try and identify folks in the room. Um, there are some folks who are very shy to ask questions, but they do type the questions in an open document we have created for anonymous typing. But sometimes we ask, hey, that's an interesting question. Who asked that? And someone raises their hand and we say, like, why are you shy? That's a very beautiful question. So I think those of us who do this quite frequent online deliveries or interaction, I think we should also keep identifying those potential gems that are hidden out there in the community. And from our side, I keep encouraging them, hey, do you want to join our APNIC community trainer? Because other than that, I have nothing to offer them immediately. Just saying that so that we can then bring them out to the wider community, give them that opportunity to share their know-how. But yeah, definitely, I think our community could use that constant refresh of faces, ideas.
I mean,
So yeah,
thanks to you and the APNIC when we ran the Manners fellowship program last year, all the uh, fellows from the APAC region were APNIC community trainers. So
yes,
it was much easier for us to get going. So that program is working, right? So
yes.
it's working, and then we we were able to award them for their effort. So yes, so keep bringing more people to the community trainers
Yes,
program. So
oh, definitely.
that is something
Definitely.
which is working. But yeah, maybe we have to start a community speakers program. Um,
Yeah, I'm taking note of that.
so,
Community
so
speakers
we can
program. Yeah.
encourage people to say, okay, fine, come on in. You have the opportunity to speak. Maybe Zoom speaking training can be provided, right?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah,
So
yeah, makes sense after because what we have seen with engineers is they are very good engineers, tech guys, but they have no, they really don't enjoy public speaking. So yeah, like you said, we can handhold them, give them a platform, practice runs,
mm,
how to submit slides to conferences, how to speak, and pretend that there's no one in front of you
yes, yes.
until
I
your
mean,
session is done. Yeah,
if you're fear of people staring at you, I think this is the right opportunity for you because you are the only one staring at yourself.
yeah, exactly. You and your slides. That's it.
That's it. I mean, it's a good opportunity. We shouldn't waste it. So, yeah. On that note, if anybody has any other question, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, I will say any last word for for the community in the region and in general. So there's one question from Michelle. Michelle was our fellow as well in the manners program, saying, "I think the train the trainer events can help increase the pool of trainers and speakers as well, and more of those would be useful." Well, that's a good one. So maybe we can do a Twitch broadcast of train the trainer program and say
Yes.
um, uh, how how we do train the trainers and train the speakers as well. So the thing, what I feel is that we have to adopt a lot of platforms which are out there and we are not using it, because a lot of new generation, I consider myself old because I don't have a Snapchat account because somebody reminded me a few weeks ago. So and I don't have a TikTok so as well. So these are things people, the new generation is on it and we are not there. So maybe uh, live broadcasting on Twitch saying this is how we do the train the trainer program or something like that. So more innovative ideas. What do you think, Tashi?
Oh yeah, definitely. Train the trainer sessions definitely can be useful, I think. But I guess like everything else in our field or life, practice is the only way forward. I still remember myself joining APNIC as a trainer. I'm not a trainer, I'm an engineer too. Boy, the first few trips, it was it was bad. I'm looking at the floor, refusing to look at the audience. So it took a while. Took 2 or 3 events before I told myself that okay, I think I found my own comfort zone. So even with our CTs, community trainers, that is, that's what we do. We try to, of course, give them as many material and resources as we have. Train the trainer session videos from universities, structured course, structured training delivery techniques, and all. But in the end, what we have seen is unless we engage them as co-trainers for a few events first, where we build their confidence up, we show them how sessions are to be run when you have difficult characters in the room. How do you handle those difficult questions and personalities? So I think one is definitely a train the trainer session, but the other one would be a bit more of a hand-holding and mentoring session where you engage them for a few of your events, ask them to observe first as a participant, second as a co-trainer, help with some labs where you don't have to speak much or present. And then after the third one, you'd be surprised. They come back to you and say, all right, Tashi, can I take the next 2 sessions? And that's like, oh, okay, the confidence is there. They have seen enough. So I think, yeah, I think we definitely could sit down together after this session, you, myself, and a few others, and we could think of trying to um,
Good.
do
Okay,
this and package
that's
this in a
perfect. So
manner. Yep.
I can assure everyone who is listening that I'm not gonna let Tashi go without doing something innovative moving forward. So I'll keep on poking, and the APNIC 51 session is coming up. I'll speak up on the stage. I mean the virtual stage. That we have to do something. So so yeah. So thank you so much for that. On that note, I would say thank you so much for taking time out and joining this
No, thank
session.
you, sir.
And we will be doing it every month, and I'll make sure that you will be able to join us whenever you can.
Yeah.
So for that, thank you so much for your time, and everyone, thank you. We'll see you soon. Take care. Have a good day, good evening, and good night for you, Tashi.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Aftab. Thanks once again for the opportunity. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.